Hi guys, it's Drawla here, and today I'm going to be drawing Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus for Christmas. But before we get started with this video, please make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you guys know every time I post a new video. Also, I have a big announcement. I'm excited today. We reached 100 subscribers. That is amazing. You guys are amazing, and that means so much to me, especially during Christmas time. It's just the best Christmas present ever. Now, to start off this video, what do you call an obnoxious reindeer? If you want to know the answer to this joke, stay tuned till the end and I'll reveal it. Alright, let's get started. So I'm drawing Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, and I started off first with drawing the good old Saint Nick. And this was really fun to do. I drew him once before in a previous video I did, where I did a Christmas compilation, and that was really fun. I drew him a little bit more cartoony than I drew him here. Here I made him just, I don't know, bigger and just more loving looking. I really wanted to give Mrs. Claus and Santa this nice connection in the picture. So you'll see that she's hugging him and he's hugging her back. And even though her eyes are like staring straight ahead right now, I change it later, that way she's looking up at him lovingly. I also added a little detail and I gave him a sack to show that he's about to make his present delivery, and maybe it's Christmas Eve and Mrs. Claus is wishing him good luck. I did have a little bit of trouble with Mrs. Claus though, I will admit that. It was kind of tricky. I used different references, and in some of the references she was blonde, in other of the references she had white hair. I ended up going with white hair just because I thought it suited her and the drawing better. And just the outfit that she was going to wear. Some references had an outfit like just a Santa suit but in dress form, but I didn't want it to be that similar to Santa's outfit. So what I did was I gave her this mini jacket kind of, and it does resemble Santa's suit, but then I gave her this long pleated skirt and it's going to have some Christmas plaid colors, and I thought that was a nice balance to have. I also gave her this little bow detail in the back, just like a present bow kind of. Okay, so now we're going to be inking, and I gave Santa his mustache and long white beard, obviously, because if he didn't have that, then he wouldn't be Santa. And for Mrs. Claus, I just tied her hair up into a nice side-swept bun. I thought it was nice and simple. I also gave her some glasses. These glasses kind of remind me of the one, I don't know, I feel like they just give me Dumbledore vibes the way they look. Maybe just the way they're like perched on her nose and their small little spectacles. I really like the way it looks, and I definitely can see it just having this Mrs. Claus vibe to it. Now, as you'll see here, when I'm doing the stripes for the plaid, I used a thinner liner just because when you're doing plaid stripes, it can get a little bit busy because there's so many lines and the skirt's already pleated, so I'm drawing lines where the pleats are, and I didn't want it to get so confusing. So I used the smaller liner where the details are less important. And you can just distinguish where the line for the skirt is and then the line for the plaid is. It was also kind of tricky because since the skirt is kind of flowy, I had to angle the lines so they don't exactly line up, but it gives it a more realistic look that way. I definitely did have to think beforehand, but I think it worked out in the end. And now we're moving on to the colors. The first thing I started with was red. I made sure to have a nice bright red for Santa's suit, and I shaded it with a little bit of a darker red. For most of this, my shading was nothing crazy. I just have one lighter color and one darker color. I don't tend to use more than one color when it comes to shading. Like, I just stick with the same darker color. I shaded Santa Claus, I feel like, a lot more than I did Mrs. Claus. Since Mrs. Claus is hugging him, she's casting a shadow upon him, so I had to take that into account as well. And as you'll notice here, I figured out that I'd forgotten to draw the line at the bottom there, so I had to add it last minute, and I'm like, oh no, I ended up going to the white area. So later on I'm going to fix that, and I use white out to fix it. Yeah, I just fixed it now. Ugh, that's one of the things where I'm like, oh, I wish this was digital art, that way I could just erase it easily. But when you're drawing traditional art, it's a little bit more difficult to cover up mistakes. But I think the more you do it, the more you practice, and it might even help you develop problem-solving skills because you'll have to think outside the box to fix it. And now for his sack, I decided to go with just this nice simple brown color. And even though Santa's boots are supposed to be black, I made his boots brown. I mean, looking back at it now, I feel like black would have just been a better color because that's what color his boots are supposed to be. And I don't want the brown to be so overpowering because I used it for his pants, his sack, and his boots. But I tend to steer away from black when it comes to pictures. I'll substitute it for a little bit of a darker gray. I think just because it's so dark, it kind of scares me knowing that it's going to be hard if I mess up to fix it. So I used brown, but I think I should have just gone with black. It's okay, now I know for next time. And just finishing that up. Also, because there is a lot of white in this picture, I had to be very careful when I was coloring nearby the white areas. As you'll see now, I'm shading all the white areas using a warm gray. Normally I shade with a cool gray, but because this was like a Christmassy picture, I don't know, I thought the warm gray was just, how do I say this, warmer? It was more welcoming, I feel like, and I just thought it fitted the color scheme much better. So I'm definitely happy I went with that. And whenever I shade white, I always use my lightest gray. Even if I'm using a cool gray, I'll use my lightest cool gray. And in this instance, where I used warm gray, I used my lightest shade I had for that. And now I'm coloring in his skin. I made sure to give him and Mrs. Claus rosy cheeks because I feel like Santa is known for having rosy cheeks. If you've read the book 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which I love that story, it is such a Christmas classic. There even is a line dedicated to it where it says something talking about his rosy cheeks. And I always make sure to include that little detail whenever I draw him. And I did the same with Mrs. Claus. I want to give her nice, really rosy cheeks as well. I love drawing rosy cheeks, in case you guys haven't noticed. It's definitely one of my favorite parts when it comes to coloring in the face. And I was thinking about what eye color she should have, but I'm pretty sure Santa Claus has blue eyes, so I ended up giving her blue eyes as well. And yeah, I think it turned out so cute. Now I'm just shading her hair. As you'll see, I did end up going with white hair. I could have made her hair like an actual color, like maybe a light brown or a blonde, but I wanted it to be a little more cohesive, and I decided to go with white. For the picture aspect, I like it best. And I am using the same red as I did with Santa Claus. I was a little bit worried here, since they are so close together and the reds are the exact same. I thought it might be hard to distinguish Mrs. Claus from Santa, and like, I don't like to draw two of the same color really close to each other, but I had to make an exception for this time. And I think I did an okay job. This is a time where shading is super important. When two colors of like really similarness are next to each other, you have to make sure you shade. And because I shaded, I think it's okay. It might have been better if I had used a little bit of a different red, maybe like a, I don't know, a less bright red, maybe like something a little bit darker. But for what it is, I think it's okay. And now onto her skirt. I had a lot of fun with this, just coming up with the different square patterns. I definitely knew I wanted to make it like a Christmas plaid color, meaning reds and greens. So I did a light green, a dark green, and a red. And to shade all this, I don't like going individually and shading each square, so I used a gray green. Like, that's actually what the color is called. It's like a green gray, and it ended up working nicely for the shading aspect. I think it turned out really good. And now I'm doing her bow, just the final little details. I'm also going to do her shoes, and for her shoes I made them brown, that way they can match Santa's. And I'm super happy with the way this picture turned out. That is the end of it. And now the moment you've been waiting for, what do you call an obnoxious reindeer? The answer is Rudolph! Get it? Like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you guys so much for subscribing. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. Have a Merry Christmas! Bye guys!